by transcendental knowledge. So that chapter is this 5th chapter. So we will begin by invocation, by our prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Hare Krishna. So far we have discussed the various sections of this chapter. A brief recap to how this chapter begins. This chapter begins by Arjuna's inquiry. Arjuna is wanting to know what is more beneficial for him, either to perform action or to be in a renounced position of not performing action. But Kṛṣṇa gives him the wisdom, the direction, is to perform action with this spirit of renunciation. This chapter is also called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Yoga means connection. Every chapter of Bhagavad-gītā teaches us how to connect with the Supreme Lord. And here, how one has to connect with the Supreme Lord? By performing one's action. And in what spirit the action is to be performed? In the spirit of renunciation, with the spirit of detachment. And what is the benefit if one is situated in this knowledge which Kṛṣṇa is giving in Bhagavad-gītā? So we see from the 4th chapter, Kṛṣṇa spoke about one will achieve everlasting peace. If you remember the verse in the 4th chapter, 4.39, Kṛṣṇa said that Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriya jnanam labdva param shanti achirena digacchati. So Kṛṣṇa said that in 4.39 that a faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains this supreme spiritual peace. So what is that supreme spiritual peace? And what is that knowledge which uplifts him to experience this supreme spiritual bliss? That we will be discussing today. That is in the final verse of this chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. And further in the 41st verse, Krishna also told Arjuna that yoga sannyasta karmana jnana sanshin samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. That one who is situated in the transcendental knowledge. What is that transcendental knowledge? That the self, which is beyond the body, which is the soul, he is not bound by the reactions of work. So we will see that the Krishna in this 5th chapter, he gave the process how to be liberated from the material entanglement. Krishna first speaks about the section of Nishkam Karma Yoga. This first 6th chapter, the emphasis is on Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then Krishna gives the process how to perform Nishkam Karma Yoga. Not identifying oneself with the body. And then Krishna also gives that what are the 3 doers. We have discussed that from 13 to 16. And the big section that we discussed is liberation, how the jiva achieves the liberation. And today, on the final verse of how to achieve peace, that supreme spiritual peace on the platform of liberation. So we'll take the 29th verse. This is the final verse of this chapter. Manoram Prabhu, if you want, you can show the verse on the screen. We'll discuss this verse. 5.29. The verse is like this. Bhoktāraṁ yajña-tapasāṁ sarva-loka-maheśvaram suhṛdaṁ sarva-bhūtānāṁ jñātvā māṁ śāntim ṛcchati. So the first word Krishna is revealing here is bhoktāraṁ. Bhokta means the beneficiary. Bhokta also means the guardian. And Krishna also means bhokta by here, that one who is worthy of worship. Very important. One who is worthy of worship. In simple terms, one who is going to receive the benefit or the enjoyment. So Krishna says, he is the bhokta of yaga, of all kinds of yaga. Yajna can be performed in many ways. We have discussed that from the 3rd chapter. Krishna says that one should perform his action as sacrifice, as yajna. So Krishna says that he is the ultimate beneficiary. He is the ultimate guardian of all sacrifices. Not only of sacrifices, of all austerities, tapasāṁ. What the yogis do, what the rishis and the munis do, or even anyone who performs austerity, Krishna says that I am the beneficiary. And not only of this planet Earth, one may question that there are so many other planets. So Krishna says sarva-loka, of all the planets. We will see that in the 10th chapter, Krishna will speak that he is the source from whom everything else is coming. So all the planets and all the planetary system is all emanating from him. So he is the one who is in control. He is the one who is the proprietor. He is the one who is the enjoyer of sarva-loka-maheśvaram. And he is not only the beneficiary or the benefactor only for the performance of all the yajna and tapasa of the humans, but also Krishna is saying Maheśvaram. He is the Supreme Lord, he is the enjoyer, he is the Isha of everyone, including the demigods. But being the proprietor and enjoyer of all the planetary system, then such a person is a very, very special person, a very powerful person. But such a person is not easily approachable. Can you approach? Can anyone approach easily the Prime Minister of India? Can he have access? Uh, Can he say that he is the best friend of Prime Minister of India, or to say President of the United States? But Krishna has another very unique quality. And what is that quality? He says he is suhṛdaṁ. He is the best well-wishing factor or friend of all the living entities. This is very special. Why? Because Krishna as Paramatma resides in the heart of everyone, every living entity. And why he resides in the heart of every living entity? To give him the best benefit. So Krishna is suhṛdaṁ sarva-bhūtānāṁ and ஞtva. So if one comes to this understanding, this knowledge, this realization, Krishna says, ञtva śāntim ṛcchati. Such a person is eligible to experience the supreme spiritual bliss, the everlasting bliss. Let's see the translation of the verse. Come down. Manoram Prabhu. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods. So there should not be any doubt that Krishna is controlling some and some are outside his control. No. And he is the benefactor and the well-wisher of all living entity, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So we will try to understand this verse in context to what we have discussed so far in this chapter. So here Krishna is talking about someone who can attain to everlasting peace. And he can be relieved from all pangs of miseries and sufferings. And Krishna also in this chapter, he has already revealed that what is the source or what is the root of all suffering. Can anyone answer that? We have already discussed that verse in this chapter. What is the root or what is the source of all suffering? Why do living entities suffer, especially in this human form of life? Here Krishna is giving the solution, and there Krishna diagnosed the reason that why the suffering is there. And here Krishna is giving the conclusion that how all these sufferings can be terminated. We discussed this just maybe 2 weeks back. It is from the same chapter. Close the screen. Manoram Prabhu. Okay. Yes, Ramya. Bataiye.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, to consider ourselves to be enjoyers.
What is the verse? What is the verse? Sonika, you know the verse? It is from the same chapter.
Prabhuji.
Verse number 22, 5.22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. So please try to see if the living entity in this human form of life, he wants to artificially take the position of Krishna as an enjoyer. And he attempts to do that. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga. So what is the result? Dukh yone hi evate. 5.22. Manoram Prabhu, you can share that verse. 5.22. That as soon as the living entity in this human form of life, he wants to take the position of an enjoyer, independent enjoyer, separate enjoyer from Krishna. So what is the result? That in an attempt to enjoy, what he experiences is miseries and suffering. Dukha yone hi evate. So those who are intelligent, adi antavanta tu kaunteya, na teshu ramate buddha. So one who is intelligent, one who is situated in knowledge, such a person is not in this futile attempt of trying to take the position of an independent enjoyer from Krishna. Because in an attempt to enjoy, ultimately he has to suffer. So here Krishna is saying in this verse 5.29 that one who is in full consciousness of me, that means one who is in knowledge of this uh, truth, this eternal truth, that Krishna is the enjoyer. So one may ask that how is Krishna the enjoyer and why not me? Or why is it so that only Krishna can enjoy? So Prabhupada explains by many examples. One simple example he gives is of a tree. Like we see a tree has a huge body and it has different limbs, it has trunk, it has branches, it has twigs, and it has the maximum leaves. So if the leaves are the part of the tree, they are one of the amsha of the tree. So similarly, the living entity is also amsha. So if the leaves, they want to be nourished or they want to be enjoying the nourishment, so can they directly enjoy the nourishment? If the tree's roots are watered, the tree leaves also become nourished. They also enjoy. But if the tree leaves, if they begin to think that why the water is being given to the root, why not to the leaves itself? And in an attempt, if the leaf, it falls from the tree and it enters the river, thinking that in the river there is ample of water. And it can abundantly receive water and it can nourish itself. What will be the result? Will the leaf be nourished? What will happen? Even though it will be in the abundance of water, what will happen? It will dry up. It is already dead. Because as soon as it detaches itself from the tree, it becomes dead. So similarly, this example is there. So the living entity is also the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Krishna reveals that in Bhagavad-gītā. Mame vansho jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatanam. That the living entities are my fragmental part, separated part. So if the whole is served, or if the whole is taken care, then the part automatically receives its own share. There is nothing else to be done. It is automatic. So this point Krishna is explaining here in this very important verse is to accept that Krishna is the center. Prabhupada was once preaching. I think it was in 1996. 1969. 1969, Prabhupada was in preaching in the US, and there was an international institute, International Students Institute. So Prabhupada said that, like, if these students are there, so there is National Institute. So, it was Students National Institute. National Institute for Americans. So Prabhupada said that if you are a national institute, so what is the spirit? The spirit is that everyone considers the fellow nations to be their own men. And they are willing to sacrifice for the fellow nationals. So what has to be in the center? The center has to be the national interest. The Prabhupada gives an example of like a pond. If the pond is there, and from the pond, from the center, the wave moves. If the wave moves from the center, then it reaches to every part of the water. Prabhupada also gives the example of a radio frequency. Previously, radios used to work. So there used to be a frequency, and whoever who tunes in with that frequency, he can hear that song. So similarly, if Krishna is in the center, if we try to serve Krishna, if we give the pleasure or the enjoyment to Krishna, so we being the part and parcel of Krishna, we automatically receive enjoyment. But if we try to do it independently and separately, the same effort or the same endeavor becomes the cause of our suffering. This very important principle Krishna is revealing here in this final section of the 5th chapter, that Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the proprietor. Bhoktāraṁ yajña-tapasāṁ. So, whatever austerity is to be performed, whatever sacrifice is to be performed, who has to be in the center? The center has to be Krishna. If Krishna is kept in the center, that means we should try and perform our activity to please Krishna. To the extent we attempt to perform activity to please Krishna, automatically we will be satisfied. We will be experiencing that happiness. We will be experiencing that supreme spiritual bliss. So I'll take the purport. Let's discuss the purport. So Prabhupada says that the conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusionary energy are all anxious to attain peace. So everybody is invariably interested to experience happiness, unlimited happiness. But happiness will only come when one experiences peace. Ashantasya kuto sukham. Without peace, there is no question of any happiness. So the first experience has to be of the peace. So everyone in this material world is anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace. But they do not know what is the process or what is the way to achieve that peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad-gītā. This is very important. Many years back, when Prabhupada started the movement, so Prabhupada was invited by one Mr. Bogart, who was working in United Nations. So Prabhupada went with some of his students, and it was covered by the US press also. And Prabhupada chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra outside the United Nations building. And Prabhupada said that this United Nations, this association of United Nations, is actually not united. They are divided nations. So many times we have discussed. Why? Because since the United Nations have been formed, the number of nations or the numbers of flags are simply increasing. But if you see Krishna consciousness, it is actually the true representation of United Nations. Because in Krishna consciousness, even if you go to Mayapur, you will experience there will be so many devotees coming from so many countries of the world, in so many different cultures, languages, but with the common practice and common process of trying to satisfy Krishna. So irrespective of so much of diversity is there, so much of difference is there, there is oneness coming. Why? Because Krishna has come in the center. So this is very important. So Prabhupada says that this formula is explained in this part of the Bhagavad-gītā. The greatest peace formula is simply this, that Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Krishna will speak, as we will see. Many times Krishna says that yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad juhushi, dadashi, yat tapassasi kaunteya purusva matarpanam. In the 9th chapter, Krishna will reveal this principle, the details, how to be able to experience this, that whatever you do, whatever you eat, and whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerity you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. This is what it means, that to offer everything to Krishna. And also we have seen in the third chapter, Krishna has already spoken that one who does everyone to sustain and to exist, he requires food. One has to accept food. He is dependent on food. Every human being or any living being is dependent on food. But if the food is only prepared for one's own pleasure, or for one's own satisfaction, or to quench one's own hunger. So Krishna has already spoken the principle in the third chapter, that one who does not offer the food to Krishna, before offering to Krishna, he tries to enjoy that food. So what is such a person called? What is he called? Huh? Yes, Sonika?
Thief or
Yeah.
कृतघ्न.
Yo bhongte stena evasa. So he is a thief. A person who is a thief, who is a culprit, who is guilty, how can he experience joy? This is a very important aspect of Krishna is revealing here, that one must acknowledge or come to this understanding and acceptance that the enjoyer is not the self. The enjoyer is the Supreme. And as one realizes and he offers his actions or the fruits of his actions for the satisfaction of the Supreme, immediately he experiences the joy. He experiences the supreme joy, the supreme bliss, which satisfies him. So that is the peace. That is the heart is completely filled with joy or everlasting peace. The man should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is the proprietor of all planets. So this supreme position of the Lord is to be understood by performing Karma Yoga. That Krishna is the enjoyer. In Karma Yoga, the impetus is to perform activity. But why one is performing activity? One should be very clear. The purpose of performing activity is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. The result of it must be offered to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Krishna already spoken. Karmanne vadhikaraste ma phalishu kadachana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are muted.
Hare Krishna. So here in this section, it is very clearly established by the Supreme Lord that how one can experience peace when one offers everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Accepting Krishna to be the enjoyer, to be the bhokta. I am reminded of one instance where the Supreme Lord, he advented in the form of a dwarf Brahmana, and he went to the sacrificial area of Bali Maharaj. And from Bali, he desired to have only 3 steps of land. And we all know the story that then he expanded himself. He expanded himself to such an extent that within the 2 steps he covered everything, all the earthly planet and also the heavenly planet. And then the Lord asked King Bali that where should I place my 3rd feet? And Bali was such a generous king that he said, on my head, my dear Lord. But still, we see in the episode that Bali Maharaj was taken captive and his hands were tied. And when his hands were tied, Brahmaji also appeared. Prahlad Maharaj also appeared on this site. And Brahmaji asked the Lord that, my dear Lord, Bali has already surrendered everything to you. So where is the need to tie him up? If he would not be agreeing to your proposal, then you can tie him. But he is voluntarily offering everything to you. So why you are tying him up? So at that time, the wife of Bali Maharaj, Vindhyavali, she speaks. And she speaks very profound knowledge. This knowledge she speaks. She speaks that the fault of Bali Maharaj is that he was considering himself to be the proprietor of this land. Can anyone be the proprietor of the land? Before he was born, the land belonged. The land existed or not? The land existed. And after he ceased to exist, that means he dies. Will the land exist or not? So, how can one be the proprietor? One can only be the temporary caretaker. One never can be a proprietor. One can never become a proprietor of anything in this universe. Because living entity takes birth, he exists for some time and then he dies. So Bhumi Devi belongs to Kṛṣṇa. Bhumi Devi does not belong to anyone else. So the post or the occupation that one does, it is all temporary. This is all because of lack of knowledge. So we should not be possessive about our possessions, because the proprietor is the Supreme Lord. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that man should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods therein. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So, as Kṛṣṇa is speaking here, that is sarva-loka-maheśvaram. So there should not be any doubt that any other loka or any other demigod can be compared to him. He is Maheshwaram. Mahesh is Lord Shiva, and Ishvara of Mahesha is Lord Kṛṣṇa. So he is the Ish, he is the controller of both Mahesha and Brahma. So everyone is inferior to him, everyone is within his control. Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Śvetāśvatara Upaniṣad, the Supreme Lord is described as tam īśvarāṇāṁ paramaṁ maheśvaraṁ. So the same aspect is being spoken, that there is no one, neither anyone in the human form of life, nor anyone even in the higher planets, or in the heavenly planets, or amongst any demigod. No one can take the position of Kṛṣṇa as the enjoyer and the proprietor. Kṛṣṇa is the enjoyer and proprietor for each and every one. Under this spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be the lords of all that survive. But actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material energy, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. So how everyone is subordinate to Kṛṣṇa is through the expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. So everyone is within the control of the three modes of material nature. And material nature, we all know, is controlled by Kṛṣṇa. So indirectly, the energy of Kṛṣṇa is controlling everyone. Everyone is under the control of the material nature. And Kṛṣṇa is the controller of material nature. So clearly, everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa. Unless one understands this bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in this world, either individually or collectively. So that's why all the peace attempts in this world have individually or collectively, what has been the result? It has always failed. Why? Because Kṛṣṇa is not in the center. Kṛṣṇa is not being served or satisfied. And one attempts to do anything independent or separate from Kṛṣṇa, it becomes the cause of suffering, or further it complicates the issues. So here Kṛṣṇa is telling Arjuna, what is the yajña for Arjuna? What yajña Arjuna has to perform? He has to fight the dharma yuddha. He has to perform the sacrifice of killing his kinsmen who are on the side of adharma. But Kṛṣṇa is saying that you have to perform this yajña for my satisfaction, for my pleasure. This is the sense of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. Lord Kṛṣṇa is the supreme predominator of all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So two aspects are there. One aspect is of being in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. What it means to be in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, and one is clear of the position of the Kṛṣṇa, that he is the Supreme Lord. He is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, and also he is the best well-wishing friend. So if one accepts these facts and he acts according to this principle, that Kṛṣṇa is the supreme proprietor, Kṛṣṇa is the supreme enjoyer, and everything is offered for his satisfaction, then he can achieve everlasting peace. The fifth chapter is a practical explanation of Kṛṣṇa consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Kṛṣṇa consciousness is to work with complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Predominator means one who is the master, and predominated. Kṛṣṇa is the predominator, and we are all predominated. Predominator is the master, and predominated is the one who serves the master. Direct Kṛṣṇa consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is the path leading to Bhakti Yoga. So direct Krishna consciousness means to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the proprietor, he is the enjoyer, and also Krishna is the best well-wishing friend of all the living entities. So that is direct Krishna consciousness, which is called Bhakti Yoga. But Jnana Yoga is the path leading to Bhakti Yoga. So the Jnana Yogis, those who are trying to cultivate knowledge from the Vedic literature, from the Vedic Shastra, by their intelligence, by their mental speculation, they cannot also achieve perfection unless and until they come to the path of Bhakti Yoga. And how the Jnana Yogis or any other path of yogis come to the path of Bhakti Yoga? What is the connect or the interface? How it happens? That a Jnana Yogi or an Ashtanga Yogi or a Karma Yogi, he comes to the path of Bhakti Yoga. How it becomes possible? Yes, Manoram Prabhu?
Prabhuji, by coming in connection of a pure devotee.
Yes, by coming in connection with someone who is in parampara, a pure devotee. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute. What is the relationship? The relationship is of the part and the whole. That Krishna is the whole and the living entity is the part and parcel of that Supreme whole. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is an eternal servant of the God and is his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya illusion due to his desire to lord it over Maya. So what it means to be lorded over Maya is clearly mentioned here. That one tries to take the position of enjoyer and proprietor. This is what it means to lord it over material nature. And that is the cause of his many sufferings. यही संस्पर्शजा भोगा दुख योनि ही एवते. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into a spiritual life, even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter. So the activity for one's existence or necessities will still have to be conducted while one is in Krishna consciousness. But the same activities, it brings one to the platform of spiritual awakening or spiritual realization. When it is performed with this spirit that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, and every endeavor or every action that we perform is for Krishna's pleasure. If we make our actions a source of offering for Krishna. By practice in the material world, the more one is advanced, the more he is freed from the clutches of matter. As one progresses in the path of Krishna consciousness, he becomes free. He is liberated. The influence of material energy or the illusionary energy is minimal. The Lord is not partial towards anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which help one control the sense in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. So we have discussed in this chapter in elaborate way. Krishna has explained that what one has to practice is to tolerate the urges and the forces of desire and anger. Shaknoti iha eva yasoro prak sharira vimokshana kam krodha udbhavam vegam sayukta sa sukhinara. So one who is able to tolerate the forces of desire and anger. So Krishna consciousness, which helps one control these senses in every aspect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above mentioned passion, remain factually in the transcendental stage of Brahma Nirvana. The eightfold mysticism, yoga mysticism, is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. It is the highest perfection of life. So the next chapter, Krishna will speak about the process of eightfold mystic yoga or the Ashtanga yoga. But that is a very strenuous and a very long process, the eightfold process. But the sure shot and the simple process is the process of Bhakti Yoga, in which one offers all the result to Krishna voluntarily. So that is the perfection. It is the highest perfection of life. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being in its highest perfection of life. So here, to summarize, Krishna is giving the peace formula. What is the peace formula for everyone? Is to accept Krishna as the enjoyer. Not only Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is also the proprietor. And in spite of his being the enjoyer and the proprietor of everyone and everything in this entire universe, he still happens to be the best well-wishing friend of everyone. It's very important. Krishna is the best well-wishing friend of everyone. How is Krishna the best well-wishing friend of everyone? As Paramatma. He is seated in the heart of every Jivatma as the super soul. And he wants to guide every living entity to come to him, to approach him. So Krishna is the best well-wishing friend of everyone. Okay, I'll stop here. There is some time. If there is some question or discussion, you can ask on this entire chapter, what we have discussed in the 5th chapter, Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. And from the next session, we will begin the 6th chapter, which is the Dhyana Yoga, which is the part of the Ashtanga Yoga process. Hare Krishna. Very, very important verse to keep this in focus, in center, that Krishna is the enjoyer. When we perform action, you see, our consciousness should be with this principle that whatever we are performing, we are chanting, or we are studying, or we are doing any activity. What is the purpose? That Krishna is the enjoyer of this. Hare Krishna. No questions? Everything is clear? We will have this clarity that Krishna is the enjoyer while we perform all activities. And Krishna is also the proprietor. So if Krishna is the enjoyer and Krishna is the proprietor, whatever result comes, we cannot complain. And we cannot complain. This complaining attitude in our life should be completely dispensed. It should be dissolved. If we accept this principle that Krishna is the proprietor and Krishna is the enjoyer, then whatever is the outcome, we should be happy with it. We should be content with it. Because ultimately it is for the benefit of Krishna. The enjoyer is Krishna. But the problem is that we want to take Krishna's position. So we are very attached to whatever is the outcome or what is the result, because we don't want to offer to Krishna. We want to enjoy ourselves. And that Krishna is saying is the cause of one's suffering. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, theoretically, we got this information that Krishna is the enjoyer, but when it comes to the practicality, we always forget Krishna. Means,
Yeah.
so how to practice that we can remember Krishna all the time, means while doing every activity, because in general I forget always.
Because passion takes over. When we perform action, action is performed with passion. And when there is passion, what is the mindset or what is the mentality? Is to be the enjoyer. So we have to be practiced in such a way that we are more in the mode of goodness. In mode of goodness, things are clear. In mode of passion, it is not clear. It is reverse. So it begins by, that is why we need the guidance of a spiritual master. The spiritual master is the via media between the living entity and the Supreme Lord, who connects with the Supreme Lord. So how we can say that we are performing activity for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord is through by following the instructions of the spiritual master. Because if we are following the instructions of the spiritual master, then we are offering, why we are performing the activity? For the pleasure of the spiritual master. Like yesterday we were having our initiation anniversary. So many devotees were sharing. The spiritual master said that you do this service. So what the disciple does? Normally a disciple is supposed to accept that service and perform that service. And who gets the result of that service? The person who gives the service. So in short, we should mold our life in such a way that we execute all actions in pursuance to the instructions or the guidance given to us. Then we will not be in a position to be the enjoyer or proprietor of the action that we are performing. Like we are told to chant. Why do we do chanting? Do we do chanting to please ourselves, to satisfy ourselves? Huh? That is the most painful time for a conditioned soul. Because the mind does not get any opportunity for enjoyment. But why we are performing chanting? Because it pleases the Lord. It pleases the representative of the Lord. So gradually what we have to do, we have to perform those activities which are recommended to us. And we give up those activities which are not recommended. And before performing the activity, we should pray. We should cultivate this habit of performing prayers. Like before we start the class, we pray. Why do we pray? So that this activity is being performed for the pleasure of the Lord and for our own purification, both. One more aspect is there. If activity is done for the pleasure of the Lord, immediately you will feel yourself purified. You will see yourself advancing in Krishna consciousness. Very clearly. You will experience that. And your desire to perform service will also enhance, it will increase. And your ability to perform service will also increase. Why? Because Krishna is pleased. So in short, what we have to do? that we perform those activities which are recommended to us. So the result of it is to those who have given us the instructions or who have given us the recommendation. Then we cannot enjoy. Particularly in chanting, in hearing, why we are hearing? Because Kṛṣṇa recommends. Kṛṣṇa is recommending. That whoever hears Krishna Katha, he becomes attracted towards Krishna. He becomes lover of Krishna. That is for the pleasure of Krishna. Simply, we should perform those activities which are recommended. Anukulasya sankalpaha and pratikulasya varjanam. We should give up those activities which are not recommended, which are not particularly in relation to Krishna. So that is, if it is not in relation to Krishna, then it is not for the pleasure or enjoyment of Krishna. And why we are performing that activity? For what purpose? What is the purpose? It's trying to enjoy separate from Krishna. So we should give it up. How we give it up? By engaging and absorbing ourselves more in those activities which are directly meant for the pleasure of Krishna. If the activities which engage us for the pleasure of Krishna, it increases, then automatically the activities which disconnects us from Krishna, it decreases. Hare Krishna. Okay. You have another question? Your hand is up. Okay, go ahead. At least you are inquiring. Inquiring means that one is having an aptitude to accept. Very good. It is very positive.
Prabhuji, as you told that with devotion we can, and with devotional service we can get attraction for Krishna or love for Krishna. But Prabhuji, when we go to temple and when we see that Lord is very well decorated and very well dressed, then we got attracted with Krishna's deities. But if Lordship is simply dressed, that doesn't seem much attractive to me. So how should improve our vision, Prabhuji?
No, the Lord is always decorated. When you come to the temple, the Lord is always decorated. Even if you come to Mangal Arati, you will see so much of attraction to the Lord because all his limbs are very, very, strikingly visible. You can see the full lotus feet. You can see his beautiful arms. You can see his three bending folds. The problem with us is that we do not put our eyes in connection with the Supreme. So as our consciousness, as our concentration comes on the Lord, so the Lord exhibits his charm or his beauty. And that is why we dress the deities so nicely. Krishna is attractive. Bhushanam bhushanangama. The bhushanam do not enhance his beauty. But the ornaments, if they are accepted in Krishna's service, so they get glorified. So Krishna is transcendental. He is all attractive. So as we become pure, his attraction becomes even more manifest in our heart. In an impure state, we don't feel the attraction. But as with practice of Krishna consciousness and as with performance of devotional service, our heart becomes pure. So the pure heart is naturally inclined to Krishna. It is the impurities that do not allow our attraction towards Krishna, rather our attraction towards matter. So Prabhupada has given us this very wonderful services in Krishna consciousness. You see, devotees, they prepare such garlands. Garlands, when they are offered to the Lord, it enhances both the beauty of the Lord also and the beauty of the flowers also. So it is there, but another reason is that when you come to the temple, you come in touch with the spiritual energy. The influence of mode of passion and ignorance is much less. And the mode of goodness and pure goodness is prominent. So that is important, because in such a situation, it is very easy to remain in connection with the Lord, to have attraction for the Lord. But when we are out of this spiritual environment, when we are in the environment which is surcharged with passion and ignorance, then it is very difficult. Very difficult to think about Krishna or to think about Krishna as interest. So what we have to do? We have to be in that environment which is spiritually surcharged, which keeps us connected to Krishna. When we will come to the 6th chapter, Krishna will explain. Krishna says, it is suchau deshe. Suchau deshe sthapaya. That one should remain in a spiritual atmosphere. One of the symptoms of bhava bhakti is to remain in a place which is the dham of the Supreme Lord. Nivasati tad dhama. One should remain in a place which is such as spiritual potency, where the Supreme Lord is there. To make your house a temple, why not make your house a temple? You have the deity of the Supreme Lord, and you serve the Supreme Lord. You will see the same spiritual potency manifesting. Very important. Prabhupada says that Grahastha life means it has to be centered around deity worship. It must be centered around deity worship. So we have to connect, we have to remain connected and not allow the disconnection to come again and again. And disconnection is in the form of, strongly in the form of non-devotee association. As we come in non-devotee association, the connection becomes weak, or we get disconnected. So remain connected. Maharaj says at least one day we should be coming to the temple. Sang day. Sunday should be the Sangha day. It is a day for getting ourselves recharged, getting ourselves spiritually strongly connected. And at least for entire week. So what we used to do, like when I was working outside, so the most awaited day was the Sunday. So when Sunday will come and when I will get the opportunity of coming to the temple and being in association of devotees. And we wish to plan when in our working days, when I used to come Saturday night to the temple. When I used to go to the office on Saturday, so my bag was already there in the car. And from office, we used to come to the temple Saturday night. Evening devotees, it was evening, I used to come at 7:38 and then had prasad. Prasad seems to be so delicious that we used to get the opportunity to get temple prasad. And prasad was prepared here at 5, and at that time there was no hot case and all. There was this plate, and in that plate, in one portion there was rice, one portion there was dal, little sabji, and 1 or 2 chapati. And we used to honor it after 2-3 hours after being prepared. And how one plate was where the prasad was, and the other plate was in the cover. So 3-4 such plates were available. And we used to be very, very thankful to the devotee who would keep for us. At that time, we had never desired to go to Govinda Snacks or Govinda restaurant and dine. We never even thought of. Never ever thought of. So whatever we received at prasad, if nothing was available, then food for life khichdi. And then we used to attend the classes. The class used to be from 8 to 11 in the night. And in temple, there was hardly any place to stay, so we should lie down in the prasadam hall. Just we had to spend 2-3 hours. And then in the morning, we were the first to be entering into the bathroom before the resident devotees would wake up. Before that, we had, used the toilets and freed for them. But there was such joy, such satisfaction of the heart. And Sunday, the full day, we were in temple performing service. After the class, we used to perform prasadam service. Many, many years, impeccable, without fail, prasadam service. And believe me, you experience, if you perform prasadam service, and after serving, at least for half an hour or 1 hour, then you sit down to honor prasad, you see the experience. It will be completely different. Why? Because you have satisfied Kṛṣṇa. You perform service for the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. By serving others, other devotees, we definitely please Kṛṣṇa. And once you please Kṛṣṇa, that joy, that peace is out of this world. We still have the opportunity. Everyone has the opportunity. But how much do we access depends on us. Ravindra Prabhu comes, he does service. Devashish, video क्यों off किया है आपने? Why have you switched off your video?
हरे कृष्ण भोजी, हरे कृष्ण भोजी।
वीडियो क्यों बंद कर दिया?
भोजी हम पे कुछ लोग आए हुए इसलिए।
So any experience that you have when you perform selfless service, what is the experience? That you feel such joy, such satisfaction in the heart. Why? Because we are considering Kṛṣṇa to be the enjoyer, Kṛṣṇa to be the proprietor. And we have taken a position of servant to serve. And as soon as we come into that consciousness, immediately we have this spiritual experience. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Tomorrow you have an opportunity to come and do service for their lordships. You can prepare that dry fruit dress, at least do service for a few hours. So we should be looking always for such opportunities when we can serve their lords, their lordships, and we can serve the devotees. So at that time, we are not taking the position of bhoktāraṁ. Isn't it? Can we be the enjoyers at that time? No. See, if one is thinking that he is the enjoyer, how can he perform service? As an enjoyer, he will try to receive service from everyone. One who is thinking that he is the proprietor, can he serve? He cannot serve. So when we perform devotional service, then invariably we come out from this conditioned mode of being the enjoyer and proprietor. We take a humble position. We take a lower position. We take a position of a servant. And as soon as we genuinely take the position of a servant and we perform service, immediately we realize a spiritual experience. We experience such joy, such satisfaction of the heart. We don't think when you are genuinely serving that, अरे सब लोग सारा बांट ही दूंगा तो खाऊंगा क्या? Then what will I eat? That thought will never come. Why? Because there is no desire to eat. The heart is already filled with joy. So here, very important principle Kṛṣṇa is giving here, that the suffering is there because as soon as you try to take the position of enjoyer and proprietor. But if we try to serve Kṛṣṇa, then there is unlimited joy. From trying to get artificial enjoyership mentality to coming to genuine joy, by performing service. So that journey we have to execute in this Kṛṣṇa consciousness. So whenever there is an opportunity to do service, we should be very keen, we should be very eager. And as soon as we take the position of offering service, we can experience this śāntim. suhṛdaṁ sarva-bhūtānāṁ ञtpā śāntim ṛcchati. One achieves the everlasting peace. Hare Kṛṣṇa. I'll stop. Thank you very much for your attention. The one thing I want to share, what should I say? The importance of hearing Krishna Katha. What is the great importance of hearing Krishna? Well, I think it is in 1:4. Okay, I'll take it tomorrow. It is already 9. So I'll take that verse tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. We will continue with Śrīmad Bhagavatam study. And Sundays, try to be in association of devotees. 6 days, you be in your profession, you be in your occupation, whatever engagement you have. But one day you please allocate to be in the association of devotees to get the spiritual benefit, exclusive spiritual benefit. Hare Krishna. Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai.